Now, face the mighty bison.
Tekken 8 was first unveiled to us. Harada did this news article with IGN where it says Tekken 8, the exclusive first interview with Harada. A turning point is what Tekken 8 was called. Now, in this news article, Harada talked about many things: Unreal Engine, graphics, rain, lighting, everything. What's also interesting about this, in hindsight, there was no mention of the heat system. That's very strange. But the part that's relevant to this video, when he was talking about guest characters, in this portion of the news article here, Harada was responding to a question from IGN about how satisfied were you with the guest characters in previous installments. Tekken 7 had some very impactful guest characters. I always think it's interesting how the players get so excited about guest characters, but when we look at the ones that we had in the past, they statistically didn't turn out so well. Gon, according to Harada, was not liked. Negan is widely frowned upon by the players, even though his usage is very high. I like Noctis. Other content creators like FDX, Maximilian, Main Man Sweet also like Noctis, but the players themselves despise him. They say it should have been Tifa, is what they say. And then for Geese Howard and for Akuma, yes, we dislike how powerful they were, but generally, players love them, and they still do. Those characters are legendary. Harada basically responds to this and says that he is satisfied with the guest characters in Tekken 7, noting that the initial shock from fans, whether positive or negative, was ultimately rewarding. The inclusion of guest characters was a win for everyone involved: the developers, the fans, and the IP owners. Now, when you talk about Tekken 8, players are wondering who will be the final character, and we're now pointing our fingers in the direction of guest characters, and with this screenshot here we have a little bit more evidence. Harada said, rather than adding a story mode for each character, we're going to add a story mode for each additional characters with an S. This is all of the DLC characters for Season 1 being in that story. What I also think is very interesting about this, and I don't know if this was intentional or unintentional, but it says not just an expansion of Eddie's story when they only add Eddie, but a cohesive expansion of the other characters involved in the story, which will happen sometime between May and summer. It's funny that Harada says the story DLC was supposed to come out in May and summer, but Heihachi's release date was autumn. I don't know if plans changed or if things got delayed or if Harada just wasn't giving us the full information. Probably not. The characters wasn't out yet. And what's also more interesting about that is that only 3 characters was a part of it. When you look at the bottom, of course these will be offered for free as story mode expansions that can be enjoyed without having purchased DLC characters, etc., meaning the characters will be played free in the story. Now, I said on Twitter, Harada said all 4 DLCs will be playable in the DLC story, but the last one wasn't there. So is there more story to come, or did the plans change? There was a player who responded to what I said with highlighting this red section. So, while the original Tekken characters that will be added to the DLC will be described in terms of how they relate to the main story, what this person is highlighting is that it says original Tekken characters will be highlighted in the story. And the fact that 3 of the characters was in the story and you have this one character who's not, it seems like that character is not going to be a original Tekken character. Now, what does that mean? This person says it says originals, so the last character is either a guest or a completely new Tekken character, most likely a guest. Now, to add to this, I think we could probably confirm that this is a guest character, because in Tekken 7, even when they added a brand new Tekken character, you talk about Leroy, Fakamama, or whatever, they would hit that character with the tagline, original Tekken character. The developers categorize all of these Tekken characters as original, and the guest characters are the only ones who seem to be excluded from that. Now, I'm not confirming a guest character, but I'm just saying this is more evidence pointing in that direction. Players were already feeling this way, and now we have more of a feeling. Now, what could it be? Of course, you got to talk about Kiryu Kazuma. We've been talking about this guy for like 5 years, but I think the discussion on this guy is over, in my opinion, and it's because of what the developers said in this here. He wants more than just Kiryu as a guest character in fighting games. He says, I think it's better to go across mediums like how we did with Like a Dragon, basically a TV show. We received all kinds of invitations to appear in other games, but we never actually went over to their doorsteps and said, let us in. Basically, what he is saying here is like, it's not worth our time to do collaborations. A lot of people were bringing up the Rainbow Six collaboration, and maybe that didn't turn out so well. Maybe they did that collaboration with Rainbow Six, but they gained nothing from it. And maybe that could have been the thing that, told them it's not worth it. We will never know. It's only our assumptions. Maybe he'll tell us eventually. But the fact that he is saying it's better to do TV shows and go across the medium, and then two, the fact that he's saying that they did actually receive requests, but they basically denied all of them, this tells me that he will not be in Tekken. And I think Tekken players should start focusing on what could happen instead of him. He's a great character, but it just does not seem possible in the current landscape. So we should turn our attentions to the next thing. Now, when you talk about the next thing, Tifa comes up. Harada has been talking about Tifa for over 5 years. The conversation around his character only has been getting bigger and bigger and bigger. The most recent tweet, I believe this is the most recent tweet from Harada, says, "We all know she isn't attractive, and I understand that. But as of yet, we have not decided anything about guest characters, etc." This came at a time when Tekken 8 first released, before we had Eddie, before we had Lydia, before we had Heihachi. With the fourth character being positioned where they are and how everything is looking, is that going to be a guest character? You have this other tweet from Harada where someone says how to unlock Tifa. Basically what he's saying is, get those developers to agree to do it, and then it can be done. Now, when you generally talk about the momentum that Tifa has, she's being pushed by some of the biggest content creators in terms of the FGC there is. You also have this post recently from Maximilian where he was talking about how Tifa on Tekken 8 main menu would blow the lid off the room.
Imagine that character here, because it's going to be over. People are going to marry Tekken 8 Tifa. They're going to marry a digital character. If you put this shit on the screen and she eventually becomes like that, my God.
So there's one clip from Maximilian. Here's another.
I've been a part of this gravy train for some time. This is literally if we're talking about a Final Fantasy character that is, also fairly attractive, but also seems that would be a perfect friggin' fit for Tekken, is literally a fisticuffs character that just punches and kicks and also has a dolphin. Yeah, dude, this feels like it would be pretty incredible for Tekken in general. She just is arguably one of the best characters you could stick in Tekken.
The thing about Tifa for me is Noctis. The way that players reacted to Noctis was very negatively. And I'm pretty sure those developers seen that reaction. And if I was one of those developers, I would not be happy with the players' reaction and how they, talked about Noctis. And I want to be motivated to give that player base, the Tekken player base, another character, no matter how much they wanted or begged for it. I just would be like, we gave you guys Noctis, you hated it, and why would we give you Tifa? I don't know. That's just me. That's just my own logic, but let's keep going. The conversation of guest characters will continue no matter what. What I think will happen now, or most likely, is Harada picking whatever he can find and put it into Tekken 8. And then worst come to worst, he'll do something like he's trying to do right here. This is from IGN. This is a couple of days ago. It says Harada revealed he tried and failed to have KFC mascot Colonel Sanders as a guest character. The fact that this is where Harada's mind is at is not a good thing. The players are focusing on Kiryu and Tifa, and they're just pushing those two characters as much as possible. But I think we need to put those characters behind us, and we need to focus on some other character, because the developers are already focused on other characters. And I just don't want to see us stick to the same two characters, which is not likely, but then the developers give us something else and it turns out the way Noctis did. Colonel Sanders or any other character like them should not be put in Tekken. And this is where I jumped in the conversation of guest characters, and I'm like, bro, Bandai Namco owns the exclusive rights to Dragon Ball. They're the only people who can, make Dragon Ball Z games. And also they're the only one who can put or allow people to put Dragon Ball Z characters in their game. I think it would be perfect if they put a Dragon Ball Z character in Tekken. Harada once said in the past that he likes to use villains, right? This is why he used Akuma. This is why I use Negan. This is why I use Geese Howard. Noctis, who can say? Now, when I was talking about this on stream, a lot of players was like, no, this would absolutely be atrocious. But I think Tekken 8 has shown that they can handle characters who has the ability to teleport and also shoot projectiles well. Devil Jin and Kazuya's lasers are tied to strings for the most part. When it's not tied to a string, it has a lot of startup animation. Guest characters usually are already busted, and it's just how it is. So in my opinion, you might as well get the best character if it is going to be busted. But the point is, the final character, it seemed more and more every day as time passes that it will be a guest character, and I'm interested to see what the developers will do. It is no secret that Tekken 8 is currently struggling right now. Their recent Steam review is sitting at a mostly negative. For all time, the game is sitting at a mixed. They have to figure out fast how to inject this game with life, and a guest character is a good way to do it. A lot of people credit the success of Tekken 7 to its guest characters and how exciting those were and how it brought in, players. So I just wonder what the developers would do. This final character is going to be very important for the future trajectory of this game, and I just wonder what the developers have up their sleeve. Taking a little peek at that Colonel Sanders has me a little bit worried, but hopefully the developers can come through with something and cook. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one, and bye-bye.